If you talk to almost any MSP today, one challenge that always comes up again and again is lead generation. And it's not because MSPs aren't trying, but most MSPs are putting a tremendous amount of effort into their marketing or their outreach or their networking. You see, the challenge becomes that traditional ways of generating leads really weren't made for the MSP model. Cold outreach has become harder than ever. Decision makers are overwhelmed. Our inboxes are full. Marketing campaigns generate a lot of activity, but need a lot of nurture and don't necessarily show buyer intent. They show what's called low intent signals, right? Low value signals. And referrals, though they are incredibly valuable, they're difficult to scale. So what ends up happening, right? Most MSPs spend a lot of time chasing companies that may or may not need your help, right? Think about how much time goes into prospecting. You research a company, you looked at them on LinkedIn, try to figure out who the decision maker is, find their emails or their contact information, craft emails, make some phone calls, right? Spend hours and hours just to get to the person, and you hear something, a common response like, thanks, but we're all good, right? And that's frustrating. It's not that the businesses will never need your help. Many of them absolutely will, but the problem is timing and visibility. MSPs are often trying to sell services without any actual real signal that the potential prospect has an actual problem. In other words, we're just guessing, and guessing is expensive, right? It leads to wasted time, long sales cycles, and frustrated sales teams, many who feel like they're constantly spinning their wheels and chasing prospects that aren't going anywhere. But the industry is starting to shift away from that model, and I'm going to show you how or talk to you about how. Instead of relying purely on marketing volume, more MSPs are beginning to focus on something much more powerful, what they call high intent, high intelligence values and super signals, signals that indicate the company might actually have a need, and especially around security, signals that reveal when infrastructure is misconfigured, signals that show that the business might be exposed to risk, oftentimes without even realizing it. When you have that kind of visibility and then approach a prospect like that, the conversation completely changes. Instead of leading with a generic sales pitch, MSPs can lead with insight, and it completely flips the conversation. One area of particular interest is email security. Email is still the number one vector for entry into cyber attacks. Over 90% of all fraud begins there. Phishing, spoofing, impersonation attacks, they continue to grow, and many organizations still have gaps in how their domains are configured and protected. Historically, identifying those gaps required a lot of manual work, right? And if you wanted to do that for a prospect, you used to have to perform audits, you had to get permission and access and or wait till something occurred, which meant the MSP was already behind the curve. And often it was difficult to figure out what the problem until something had gone wrong, and then you're in firefighting mode. What's beginning to change now is the availability of external signals and intelligence that an MSP can use to see engaged prospects, people who actually need your services. And these platforms allow MSPs to see indicators of risk from the outside without needing any access from the organization or any permission to be able to see this risk. For example, visibility into whether the domains are properly configured with authentication, whether protections are missing or misconfigured, or even if they're, even being enforced. When MSPs can see these type of signals, right, something powerful happens. They no longer guess who might need help. They can focus their time on organizations who are already showing signs of exposure and who actually do need help. And that changes everything about how you do your outreach. Instead of the generic, hey, we're an MSP, I'd like to talk to you about your security services. Yeah, no thanks, sir. Click, right? The conversation becomes, hey, while we were analyzing some public records, we noticed that your domain is exposed for fraud and email deliverability issues. Here's a complimentary report. Wanted to make you aware of it. If you wanted to fix it, we're specialists that can help with it. Give me a shout, right? And the data shows that when you're doing that, you're not creating a cold sales pitch. You're providing valuable insight that leads to way higher closing percentages. And when you first interact with somebody like that, and provide that type of data-driven analysis and insight, their sales filter immediately goes down, right? And their window of suggestibility, right, how they are being open to a conversation goes way up. And it positions MSPs as an advisor rather than just another vendor trying to sell something, right? Trust starts much earlier in the relationship, and that's good for the MSP. For MSPs, this approach does more than just lead generation. It improves the quality of the conversation and really shortens the sales cycle. The data behind this is undeniable because the reality is most organizations don't wake up thinking every day, hey, I need an MSP. But they do care about risk that can affect their business, and they care about protecting their business. And when MSPs can bring real intelligence to the conversation, it transforms the way relationships begin. The future of MSP growth isn't about just generating leads. It's about generating the right leads with the right value at the right time and leading with that value instead of the sales pitch. We hope this helps, and reach out to us for any questions.